This is the cage for the GH5. I've been working on this for a while. The first obvious thing, especially with this camera, was to make it so that you could use the hot shoe on top with this audio device,
you gotta have
the XLR
that,
adapter thing. With a lot of other people's, they had their NATO rail going across the top, but that would have covered it up. I like when the Z rail is going forward, because then with a top handle, you can kind of position it where you need to help balance it. Now it is going forward, you know, and depending on your lens, balance might be off, but still you have a top handle. Our NATO rail that we call Z rail that's on the top is actually flush with the top in case you wanted to mount something across the surface.
Well, what's cool is you could mount a horizontal NATO rail and still use this handle on the front section.
Absolutely.
And now you have two rails going both ways that aren't intersecting each other. Now, what happens if I want to use an EVF with this? I see you got a cold shoe there, but I got no rod loop.
Well, there is a rod loop. Again, not everybody's going to need that, so it's sold separately. But in the top here, there's a piece that slides in and screws down that gives you a rod loop so that you could have our axis and an EVF right here. It does come with a side handle, which is unusual. Not many people include a side handle with the cage.
Boy, you can really hold this rock solid with two hands like this. Now, can you get rid of that handle?
Yes, you can get rid of it. This is NATO rail on the side, Z rail.
And you can slide it up and stuff?
And you can slide it, yeah, you can adjust the height, and you can mount other devices on there as well. Part of the other need for this handle is to have this cold shoe on top. One of the other features that a lot of the competitors had is that they had a cold shoe built in like right about here. When you slide this baby on, then you can't use the XLRs because, you know, your mic is here and it's being blocked.
I see that you somehow screwed this into these eye hooks on both sides of the camera.
Yeah, exactly. Now these eyelets that are coming out of the camera are right to the chassis, so that's a great place to anchor the top of the cage right into. So it's screwed in, it's as solid as it gets. I still have the loops for, you know, if you want some sort of a neck strap. It also comes with this hand strap here, which makes it so I can really get to the buttons easy without having to, you know, grip it. So you haven't lost any features, you've only gained a ton.
This looks like it's going to slide right into our VCT plate.
Exactly right. This dovetail is made to slide onto either our VCT dock or our VCT Pro base plate.
So what are you doing for rods then?
How I see most people using it, especially if they're going to use a matte box or follow focus, is to slide this rod block on the bottom. I call it rod block. It's really a 15mm lightweight rod support. And that uses the dovetail system as well. And on the bottom of that, that could also connect with our VCT or the dock. That way you have the rods at the proper height for your matte box, follow focus, all that business.
All right, now what about this whole Metabones? Obviously that is a big deal with these cameras. How are you doing that? Because what bothers me is when you connect the Metabones to rods, you can't go mobile really quickly.
Exactly. That was another big thing on the list, was to not make Metabones support part of that 15mm rod support on the bottom. I wanted to connect it right to the cage so you didn't need that. You might never need that rod support, but you still want to lock your Metabones in tight.
When I take this off, if I didn't know any better, I thought that's part of the camera.
Exactly, right. Yeah, and it is. It's rock solid. So, I mean, we're not only screwed into the bottom and into these eyelets, but it's screwed into that Metabones there. This thing is more solid than ever. Another feature on the bottom is, of course, the battery door is completely unobstructed.
I mean, it sounds stupid, but I have seen scenarios where you can't get the battery out without unscrewing it. So, I mean, the general idea here is that once you put this cage on here, and if you remove this side handle, it's there for life, right?
Yeah, you could leave it here. There's really nothing on here that interferes with operation whatsoever.
So what else did you do to this thing here?
On the side here is our Hdmi Pincher, our cable strain relief. And what's unique about this is that we're not depending on the cage to mount that. The camera has a couple screw holes that we're using to mount it right to it, so you could theoretically even use this without the cage. But what it does is it makes it smaller and easier. It doesn't stick out so far. You got room for your handle or other accessories here. You're also able to use this door and flip it open. Again, a lot of the others with that cable pincher there makes it so you can't use this flip out screen. You can even tilt it. Another accessory that has to work with this camera is the Atomos Inferno. I mean, it's beautiful what it does, but it's big. It's bigger than the camera. The problem always has been, and I see it in so many pictures, is that people use arms for it and they twist and turn. We've been yapping about that for years. So what I made was this bottom here that will screw directly into the Z-rail part on the top and quarter 20s. And on the bottom here where it would twist, I have not only the quarter 20 screw, but I'm screwing into their body using two of their own screws here, so there's absolutely no way this is turning.
Yeah, you know how we feel about twisting. I mean, people are sort of okay with twisting. We hate twisting or anything that can come undone. Now, can you use this with the audio device?
You can. This is flippable, so you can use it in two different ways. The original way I designed it was to have it as far forward or close to the operator as possible, so that in one scenario you can tip it down unobstructed, and if you're holding this above your head,
right,
and then of course tip it, forward as much as you can.
If you're low moding.
But I learned during my research that a lot of the guys want to have this monitor out way over the lens, and so you can flip this, stick it out over the lens, and then you can also use this audio device at the same time with everything in view.
You did a terrific job on this product. This whole small cage thing really isn't my specialty anyways, but you hit the head of the nail on that thing.